And we are live. THP, hey, it's JDax. I'm joined today in a very special post Morgan Cup, I guess, edition of my show. I didn't really I didn't really know I had a show. Um,
You do.
I do, I guess. By 93 Civic Coupe, who sent me a message as he was leaving the Morgan Cup and said, "Hey, I want to come on your show." I guess this is the show, and discuss my, part of my recap, discuss my Morgan Cup experience, why it's still fresh in my mind. And I said, you know what, man? Yeah, let's do that. So, 93 Civic Coupe. I'm just going to call you Coupe. Coupe.
You
Say
can call me
hello to the.
Civic or Coupe, either one.
Is that what they called? Is that what the guys called you out there? It's Coupe.
A lot of them, well, we called each other by our first names, which was weird. Alex would only call me Civic. He told me I was living a lie because I was driving a Camry. But yes, most of
Okay.
them call me Civic.
So I do think this is a really cool way of presenting like a recap of sorts. So let's go way back before this Morgan Cup. What brought you to THP?
So, engineer by trade, had interacted on car forums, hence the way I got my name. When I spent way too much money on cars, got into golf, played sports most of my life, got into golf after college, and loved information knowledge. So I started using THP as a forum to gain knowledge. Actually, had not even joined and gotten a username for many years. Was just reading articles, reading through the forums as a lurker without actually joining, becoming a part of it. Primarily because I thought it was a pretty cool place. A lot of people, you get reviews instead of by the guys who were, single digit handicappers puring everything. Guys like me who had swings that were all over the map meant a lot more to me. So, uh, started falling in love with the community. The more I saw the interactions, the fun, the events. What caused me to actually join and become a member, I think it was 3 years ago, the first Morgan Cup that Cobra took over as a sponsor, all Cobra. And at the time, I was thinking that looks unbelievable, but I would be scared crapless if that was me because at the time, my swing was all over the place. I was like, I couldn't compete in a match. I would just humiliate myself out there. But it kind of fired me up. I wanted to be a part of the community, and I had a goal of coming and making one of these events one day and being able to compete and actually bring a better game. So, kind of what brought me along here to this fun place.
So you kind of answered my next question was gonna be how long have you been like an official member, not a lurker.
I think this is
What
my
about
third year being a part of the Albatross Club. I think it's 3 years now.
yeah, and you were supposed to be in the THP championship last year. We were supposed to not play together, but we were supposed to hook it up there in the desert.
Go
Um,
head to head.
maybe dude, you missed playing on the surface of the sun. I know that. The weather at this Morgan Cup was way better, more conducive for not dying than it was at that championship. But what about the Morgan Cup drew you to signing up for that event?
So, I have a grandfather who played golf, and that's where I got my love of golf from, watching with him. Always loved the Ryder Cup, and the fact that you had that similar format with just average guys and handicaps, so anyone could potentially play, and just how interactive the forum was. It wasn't just the guys playing, everyone following along. It just drew me in. All the different formats. I never played golf competitively other than just with friends. I never played in school. I started playing golf after college. So whereas I did football, wrestling, soccer all the way through grade school and partly into college, I was a really competitive wrestler, a good wrestler, but I never had that same passion towards golf. I loved watching golf. I always dreamed of having a swing that I could one day compete, but I go out, hack it up with a friend, drink some beers, and just was a crappy golfer. And golf was a just fun pastime. And seeing guys compete who, okay, you're a 25 handicap, but you still get the pops. You can go out there and compete with someone who's really good and just keep your game together. It drew me in, and I started wondering, well, what would be my handicap? Started keeping track of scores. It was not pretty in the beginning. It was quite high, but it gave me a goal to go to that it was, I want to get better. I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to start working with the coach and try to get where I could actually compete in one of these. Um, and get to know the guys, meet guys in person, guys that I've interacted now with on the forums and going back and forth with and discuss stuff. Get to put some names to faces, and just you could feel the camaraderie of the teams in the videos, not even just the celebration videos, the videos of them hanging out at nights and just the teams interacting. I just want to be a part of it. It just looked amazing.
And be a part of it. You were. For this, you represented Team Paradise in this Morgan Cup. So after you were selected, or you found out you were selected, because it was sort of, I mean, the last several years it's been more of a sort of a staggered sort of, more of a
Yep.
2 day type situation where you're finding out, you're crossing your fingers, like, man, is this my year to experience the Morgan Cup like I've been the last probably three myself, signing up for the Morgan Cup every year. Talk about how you felt when it was you, the coop in. What was your initial thought?
I was the last member chosen for Team Paradise, and I'd actually realized before the pick, I just knew it wasn't going to be me. I come to grips with, I was like, I have to try for another event as much as I wanted to be in. I was like, maybe next year. I come to the conclusion that there's one spot available. What are the odds it's not going to be me? So when I saw that come up and I was in a work meeting, um, yeah, I lit up and couldn't believe it. I immediately called my golfing buddy and let him know and was like, I got to get ready for another event. I got into the event I really wanted to. My boss didn't understand how excited I was. He's not a golfer, but I tried to put it into words he'd understand. He does love sports. But there's a couple guys at my work, the new job I'm at, who love golf, and so I tried explaining to them, and they were like, "Wait, you get to go to this like exclusive place, play golf, get clubs, compete with a bunch of other guys." Uh, I was just shaking in a meeting. I was in a work meeting, and of course, discreetly looking at my watch because I got a smartwatch, and I see you have a private message from JV on THP. Welcome to Mort Cup. I was like, all right, this is going to be obvious, but I got to pull my cell phone out of my pocket and make sure that I'm reading this correctly, and then try to hold it together for the rest of the meeting. So it was interesting. I called multiple golf buddies before I called my own wife, and admitted that. I was like, I probably should have told her one of the first ones. Let her know that I was leaving her with our three kids for a few nights, and make sure set up some arrangements to help her out. But uh, I was overly excited and then immediately nervous, thinking, I know where my game's at. I know where I want it to be. I've got work to do. So that was the thought process. It was excitement. It was telling all my golfing buddies, and then it was I mean, I'm an engineer at heart. I created a plan. I'm going to have this amount of lessons each week. I'm going to hit in my garage. I have a putting mat I'm going to use. I'm going to set up my own chipping game so I can keep it interesting and chipping and putting, and I just started grinding. It was excited, but then it was I wanted to bring the best game. I didn't want to go there and feel like I should have done more. And whether I brought a good game or a crappy game, I wanted to know that I prepared correctly. Because I was in one previous event and it was less of a competition. It was the ultimate fitting at Reunion. And it was two groups, but it wasn't the same. It's not the big lead up. It was more of a fun, get to know the clubs. We got the clubs there, so we hadn't even swung them and everyone was nervous. And I didn't perform there well. And so I kind of had that bad taste in my mouth that I really performed horribly there with that group of guys. Got to know some really cool guys who actually reached out, supported me through all of this. Um, but I wanted to do better, and I wanted to do better on all fronts. I wanted to interact better with the community. I wanted to bring people along because of how much this meant for me. I wanted to make sure that if there's anyone else sitting there at home thinking my golf game's not good enough, part of the reason I wanted to call on your show is to tell you there are lots of holes where I hit balls deep in the woods on this and was punching out if I could find my ball. There were a lot of shots topped into the water where you're taking a drop and hitting a second one over, and sometimes your second one went in. It's not beautiful golf, guys. Following from home, I know sometimes it seems like it is. There were some holes that we knew should have been conceded off the tee, and we grinded out just to see if the other guy was going to shank one in the woods or do something crazy. So, um, I I wanted to make sure that not only did I bring the best game I possibly could, so I wasn't even worried about there. I was just going to be able to have fun. I wanted to get to know the guys at the event, and I wanted to make sure that I was able to do a better job of covering because at that first event, I did not think that the coverage during the event it overwhelmed me. You're trying to play golf your ball, nervous about playing, plus also remember to update the form, take pictures. your first time out, it's really tough. So one of my goals, and I'd taken a little journal of things that I wanted to do preparing. I went out and I kind of used Tappa Talk on a course while playing with one of my friends while walking just to see how hard it was to practice. And then I actually made it an effort that anyone who's new to this event, sit down with them, explain to them how they could easily get pictures into Tappa Talk and just show them everything I learned so that it'd be a little easier on them. And then in all of my matches, I kept the score because I was playing with first timers. And I figured it distracts you from the match if you're keeping the score, having to constantly each hole versus being mentally prepared. And since I grinded so much, I felt like I'd done it once before. I'd be better prepared. I didn't want any of them being overwhelmed and disappointed with their event. So hopefully I did better on that front. Hopefully I did better with the pictures and coverage. And
Oh, I
I'm,
thought that
I'm
y'all did a phenomenal job on the coverage standpoint. And, going back to something you said earlier, I still remember exactly where I was when I got that PM from JB telling me that I was in the Granddaddy. So I don't totally know. Like when you said that, I was like, yeah, I know exactly. And you'll never forget that moment
nope.
uh, forever. You had a very interesting sort of prep for the. So you get in the event, you have this very interesting prep. You started the prep off, and I did mention this in the preview in a couple of those videos probably. Start off with like a 24 handicap. You arrive to the Morgan Cup as a 20, and your move was the major move of significance of anyone else in this event, either up or down. For the record, what did you do to drop your handicap by 4 strokes that quickly?
So, in all honesty, it's more like two strokes, closer to two. I had
Okay.
been grinding for the THP championship, and an unfortunate work situation made me pull out. I had not updated my handicap on the forums. So I was a couple shots better. I was more between 22, 23. But I, fortunately, in Virginia, it wasn't really high quality golf, but I had lots of rounds in the 40s, upper 30s, low 40s, up to maybe 50, 51, lots of marshy fairways. And working with the coach, I straightened a lot of my issues out and I started seeing my scores come down. And I was using Cobra Connect, and Cobra Connect was showing me as a 20.1. And I told Jeremy, I said, I've never been one to sandbag. I've had a couple rounds that were lower than that, which is why that was, it's like some that were higher, some were lower. And I said, I want to go with it. This is what's fair. I don't want to go in there and if I brought in a 22 handicap and I was playing more like a 20, I didn't want to win that way. I wanted to go in. I mean, golf's a game where you're challenging against yourself, being fair. But a lot of it was taking golf more seriously. I probably hit on average at least 3 nights a week for at least an hour in my garage on a sky track, meeting with a coach who was helping me work through some issues in my swing, just fix some of the flaws in my swing. I was getting to the. I don't eat lunch during the day, just weird diet I'm on. So there's a local golf course near my work where on days where it was not raining and it wasn't too frigid, I'd go out there and I'd chip and pitch for 30, 45 minutes most days when I could. And I was eating, sleeping, living golf. One of my daughters was loves putting, and so I have a little putting mat at night. We would putt. So I was working on all facets of my game, just trying to make sure. And I started seeing the scores come down on the courses. I mean, Cobra Connect doesn't lie to you. It really helped me see where the strong and weak points of my game were in the rounds I recorded. And I had one round that was actually um, I think I shot 18 over par, but the course rating was a little lower, it was a little shorter, and we were playing it from tees a little shorter than I normally would just because it was so wet. It was plugging in the fairway, carts on path only. So I realized I was not going to get any rollout, and I still had some pretty long shots in. But that's what gave me the confidence that, with the rating, that's what brought me down to a 20.1. And I said, I feel like I can play at this level and take this in and do well. But it was a good bit of work. Um, yeah.
So let's talk about the gear. We're on a gear form, right? How did you
Everybody
go
loves the
about?
toys.
Everyone loves the new and shiny. How did you go about choosing the makeup of your bag for this event?
So that was kind of tough for me because I called around and was willing to drive a couple hours, and there were not a lot of Cobra distributors with the actual new product line in. A couple places just had the driver. One place had a driver in 3 wood. I found one place that they had not got their F9 demo set in, but one of the owners had his own personal setting, let me hit them. And so I went to that place, and it was off of mats. No one was letting you hit off of grass because everything was marshy and terrible. And at the time, I have a 2.5, 3 knuckle grip with my left hand. And what I found out a couple weeks before the event, because all my long irons were hooded and way left, is that my right hand grip was way underneath the club and they weren't matched up. So the top of my backswing, my right hand was taking over, closing the shut club face and causing a lot of left shots. So when I tried the F9, which has a little more offset, because that's what I thought I was going to get fit into, even when I really was trying to hold my hands off through the swing, I was having, a 10-yard draw. And when I let my hands go a little bit, it would have been out of play left. I couldn't aim bright enough um, to keep those in play. When I tried the FTBs, which demand a better swing, I had a more neutral shot. I actually saw a couple balls far to the right, and on the driving range session, I had a driving range hole in one. And so that kind of sealed the deal. And it was the first 3/4 shot at it was a 7 iron at 155 yards or something, 3/4 swing. And to see it one hop into a hole, and the guy fitted me was like, looks like you found your club. It seemed like a no brainer. I think that was the easy choice for me. That once again, they didn't have the full fitting setup. If I had been able to try the F9 a couple degrees flat, I might have gone that club because those are very easy to launch. And I agree with y'all's assessment. They are a club that makes on a course, especially a longer course like Hague, um, it would have probably given an advantage. And some of the guys who were playing them, you could see it, they were really sending their clubs pretty far. I don't think that my club selection really hurt me too much though, because I hit my clubs probably more than anyone else in the event in the simulator, and they performed well. My good swings performed well. My bad swings, I don't think anything would have saved me. They might have gone a little bit further, but I can't blame the clubs. The interesting part of the bag that a lot of people probably um, more curious driver. We had a team conversation with Jose and talked about our swing speed, because there were not a lot of shaft options to demo. He suggested the 5F4 helium, the Stifflex helium.
Oh, what a great shaft, man! I have that in my Rogue Sub Zero. It's such a good shaft.
And I get it, and I lofted up to 11.5 degrees instead of 10.5 to get me a little more launch, just because the way I deliver it. And it's been a bomber for me. I love it. I also made the decision to only go to 5 iron in my irons, because I know from looking, I used game golf before. I never swing my 4 iron. Sometimes off a tee, but off the fairway, I don't have a lot of confidence. I tried one length, but one length for me in the short wedges are where I get in trouble. Long ones, I'm marginally better. But I swing a 5 iron about decent anyways and variable. So I went 7 wood because hybrids were going left for whatever reason. The 7 wood, if you can't hit hybrids and don't like long irons, that 7 wood is ridiculous. I hit it on some of those long par threes with forced carries, and it performed awesome. I have so much confidence in that 7. So I went 3, 5, and 7. JB was giving me crap about all the head covers, but
like a
that
like a LPGA player. He
yeah.
had more head covers than an LPGA player. I love it.
Yeah,
Love
he,
it.
he, he was giving me crap, but the guys who I played with and watched me hit into some of those long par threes into the wind with that 7 iron, if I had a 4 iron, it would have been pucker factor. I probably wouldn't have hit well. That 7 wood, I swung free and was hitting all around the green with it. Wasn't putting it out of play. So that club has performed great for me. It was a right call, even though I got a little harassed by it.
So like I carry 2 hybrids and catch all sorts of hell. I carry a 2 hybrid and a 4 hybrid, and I catch all sorts of crap. For so I'm with you. I've got a bunch of head covers in my bag too.
It just hit me though, Dax. JB plays 2 drivers. How's he giving me crap? It just hit
He
me.
does play
He
two
plays
drivers, right?
he
He
plays
does.
2 drivers.
Let me ask you about this. So let's talk about the team. Let's talk about Paradise. Um, let's just take a time to talk about your team first. And whatever you want to have. I mean, I just have written down here. Talk about Paradise, Team Paradise, your team.
I love our team. Jeremy, when we all were named to the team, we all kind of interacted, welcomed each other, and he created up one of the group me text chats so we could all send texts to one another. And it was kind of slow at first with the holidays, and he said after the first, we're all going to start really getting into it. And it started with one of our team members. I want to say it was a cushion at golf. Started asking questions and it just caught fire. And then at one point, Jose requested to be a part of it, and so he joined in. And so
Hmm.
it, I mean, even while we've been talking, I've got a couple messages come through, probably because of what's going on with Purdue, but the guys are still interacting. And, we'd have tons of texts every day getting to know each other. Really solid group of guys. I'd go back into battle with those guys any day. I mean, starting off with, Jeremy, veteran, played in a lot of events, brought that leadership quality, had a certain strategy. He told us beforehand that he wanted us to really meet and get to know a lot of people, and that was important to him. He had learned that when working with Freddie in the previous Morgan Cup. And he told us, even if I have a strong pairing, I'm not going to keep you together all 4 days. I want you to intermix and get to know other people. And that was an intentional thing. He wanted us, it was more than just finding a strong pairing and keeping them. Might have worked against us a little bit, who knows? But we all agreed to it. We like that idea. You get to play with more people and know more people. And it wasn't just on our team. He wanted us to get to play different people on Hackers so that we get to know more of the guys on the forums, and really stressed if it was just about competition, we were missing the point. We did want to win, and we were going to try to strategize and get the right teams, the right matchups to win. But that was an intentional plan. I could go through each guy, all the guys, good sense of humor. Some of the chat channel stuff went in funny directions at times. But even the first night getting into town, Dog Fan and I stayed together the night before the practice round. Huge Kentucky fan. A guy from going to Georgia, wearing all blue, kind of confused me at first, but big sports fan. A few of us went out to get drinks with Jeremy that night, who had driven in, and getting to know everybody. I mean, we had old and young on one team, but all of us acted like a family. If there's one thing I would change about it, because of the housing situation, we had five of us in one house, and then Jeremy and JD Tox and Compilo Baxter were in the captain's house because they had one house. They couldn't put us all in one house, and then the VPs from Cobra from Golf were in another. It would have been cool if we could have had at least, I understand, put the VPs in a different place, but to have all seven of us would have been nice, because I think during the night times hanging out, watching ball games, we did go back and forth to the houses, but missed out on some of those conversations and having them there. But each one of the guys golfed their ball this weekend. All of us were open and honest about where we were. If we were playing crappy, we admitted, hey, man, I really stunk it up out there. But had fun, never gave up, even going into singles, thought we had a chance and had a plan and wanted to go out there and take it.
So talk about Team Hackers, y'all's adversaries during this event. Any key takeaways from them?
So for me, I had interacted with several of them on the forum. Several of them were new to me, had never met them before. Genuinely nice set of guys. I mean, I'm going to go into detail in my written review, but guys that you could easily grab a beer with and friendly. Once again, spectrum of young to old on that team. You have the bigger personalities like Canadan and OITW, who it was interesting. I made a point to talk to everyone on both team and just ask them about golf, family life, everything, just trying to get to know them. Didn't find a single guy who I wouldn't want to hang out with for an evening, go catch a round of golf, catch a beer. Really good guys. Uh, they are some scrappy golfers. I mean, I saw some shots out there, both from high end, low handicappers. That there's one that we've talked about a lot on the forums, and I can't say enough. Probably the best golf shot I've ever seen in my life. 10 putt and Wichita. I think it was on hole 14. I know we're probably going to talk about hole 14 later.
We're going to talk about 14 here in a second, but yeah, go ahead.
But they were over in the left of rough, and it was an alt shot. Wichita drew a horrible lie by tree root, was only able to advance it maybe 10 yards. And so we think the hole's ours, because the lie is they're in the rough. The ball sat down deep. It's in between two tree roots, maybe 6 inches total distance the ball sitting down in, overhanging tree, and you have the green on 14 with drop offs on either side into marsh. It's a tight green, and he has to try to sling something, and he's going to take a 3-wood out of it, or one of his fairways. I think it was a 3. And I was like, they're going to thumb up this hole to us after he chunks this shot. And he swings, and you hear the most pure sound, and this ball comes low swinging, runs up to the front edge just off the green. And I'm like, how did he do that? How did he? What Tin Pug did there? That was a team that did not give up on any holes. The guys I got to play against, always smiling, gentlemen on the golf course. We wanted to win, but I would be hitting a long putt and the other guys are yelling, get in on the other team. You know, they shouldn't want to see the putt get in, but vice versa. We were always encouraging each other. If you saw someone hit a bad shot, both teams were like, hey, shake it off. You got the next one. It was, you're competitive, but the camaraderie there was really cool. It was really neat getting to see and get to meet guys who cared more about, picking each other up, even if you're trying to, stomp on them and get the win. No one really got too overly competitive where it wasn't fun. The guys really understood the purpose of this event.
And speaking of the competition, what happened, Paradise? Like we what do you think happened? I mean, y'all the upset was there. I mean,
we got through.
Maybe I should ask that first. So let me ask this first before we get to the competition part. The TSP universe favored hackers almost to the tune of like 71% to 29%. Okay.
Yep.
Did y'all care? Were you paying attention to it? What was sort of the collective sort of maybe your thoughts, and if anyone shared their thoughts about it, what was going through y'all's head as the lead? Because like certain events like the Morgan Cup, even Strixon coming, next week, Strixon. That's sort of why I'm wearing the hat today. And in the Granddaddy, they had these longer lead ups to where the contest to pick a winner in the competition portion of it had these long burns, right? And how did y'all feel about that?
We embrace the underdog, shock the world. Let's prove them wrong. I mean, all of us notice it. We were talking about it in our text chat and in person, even leading up to matches. It's let's go shut up the forums. Let's show them that they were wrong. Let's reward the guys who voted for us. We embraced it. We wanted to prove everyone wrong. We understand that there are some really big personalities, but genuinely nice guys on the other team who've been in more events, and just people have competed with them, have seen them, have known them longer. That's one of the things we had working against us, because let's be honest, when people are picking teams, it's a popularity contest. The majority of the Paradise team were first-time event people. You had, I think, JD Tox, Campilo Baxter, and myself had been in an event. I think everyone else was a first-timer, I'm pretty sure. And so we had 5 unknowns, well, 4 unknowns. Everyone knows who Jose is. So we had a team with more unknowns, and our handicaps were slightly higher. On average, they were still pretty close. But we were the team of unknowns coming in that, the forums went with who they knew, and we couldn't disagree with that. But we embraced it. We thought we had a plan to overcome it, and came a little bit short.
Did y'all look at the individual, like when I posted the individual match odds? Did y'all ever take a look at that? If I made you an underdog, did y'all have a little extra motivation or whatever?
I did, but you made me even in a lot of them. So you did pick against me in your singles, and unfortunately, you were right. I thought I was going to prove you wrong in that, but that was our attitude. We didn't take it too serious. We thought it was funny. I didn't see a single person get upset by it or truly complain. But everyone had the attitude, that's good. Let them sleep on us. Let them overlook us, and let's go in there and, steal some of these wins and shock them.
So let's talk about the competition, man. Speaking of shocking them, you come right out of the gate. Those first 9 matches, the Shamble portion, it's 2-2 out of the Shamble. In your particular match, you played Buck Nasty and Wichita Reject with the captain. You got to play with the captain himself. Jeremy was your partner for that first match right out of the gate. So walk me through the competition and your from your street corner.
So after the event, I actually told Jeremy that I feel like that was a round that I let down the team the most personally. Not that I'm taking it too hard or anything, but quite honestly, Jeremy had probably the least amount of time to prepare, because he's up in the frigid north with very few places even to get into a simulator, and he was trying. At one point, he was asking us what the weather was, and he was looking at costs to get a plane trip to fly into one of our houses for the weekend and play in our area just to get around in. And I think that's why he went down earlier, because he wanted to practice, but there wasn't a lot of opportunity. So our idea there was, with our matchup and pairing him and I together, he's good off the tee, which is an area where I typically struggle. I'm not a big driver. And since I had so much work with the irons, if he could get us in play and we're playing, our own ball in shamble format, I could poke one in the fairway, give them the opportunity to really unleash on one, and if we get up there, hopefully I can use my pops and score. Uh, I have had all sorts of swing issues in golf, but for the first time in golf, for 4 or 5 holes straight, every swing on a ball and sitting in the fairway was topped or thinned, which is
Hmm.
not a miss I'm used to. And it is hard when you're on a golf course and telling yourself just swing through it. I had the same swing thoughts I always do. It wasn't until I saw it on video and realized whether it was nervousness, the adrenaline, my hips were firing so fast that they were pointing at the target when my hands were still at the top, and I was pushing off of the front leg and releasing my hands through trying to make contact. And it was embarrassing, humbling, embarrassing, trying to slow myself down so that the idea of the pairing was great. But as much as I prepared in the grind of the battle, my swing went to crap. Jeremy had the least amount of practice, so he was struggling as well. And we fought to keep it close. Notorious hole 14, I remember I was off in the right crap after having, I forget how I got over there. I think I had a shot go right. It was a low, thinny one. And so I tried to hit to the front of the green and finally made a pure contact out of a mess of a lie. And it faded a little bit over the trees towards that little green and so I go up there hoping my ball made it on because with the wind and everything, I was trying to play front edge where it was safe and it turned over the trees. And I get up there, and fortunately, the group ahead of us watched, and my ball had pitched on the green and spun back off. So at least I got to take a drop on the green and hit a putt. And I think we have that hole before getting closed out. But
Wow.
I really contributed very little. It was only late in the match that I was actually able to help. Jeremy scrapped, but both of our games were very ugly in that first nine. I feel like if I had been able to calm myself down better, and it's weird on the driving range warming up, smooth, balls flying perfectly straight, making great contact, didn't thin a single ball. And then you get out there to play and it's top city and it's just like, what is wrong with me? What's happening out here? So
Morgan
not the
Cup
start I
pressure,
wanted.
man. Morgan Cup
It's
pressure.
pressure.
It's real. That pressure's real, man. It really
It
is.
makes you.
I'm going to make an assumption that Morgan Cup pressure is very similar to Granddaddy pressure, and if it is, that means it's real.
It is real. It is your guts wrenching a little bit and it's tight. It was tough.
So y'all get out of that first session, but
Two
with
and
a
two.
draw. Yeah, 2-2.
Yep.
Y'all have to be in y'all go to lunch. So there's a break. Y'all play that first. How did y'all feel coming out of there? With a split 2-2, being an underdog. What was the chatter amongst the team like? Get after that first session.
So I was a little frustrated until I saw we were 2-2 because I felt like we were one of the better pairings where Wichita was steady all day. Uh, Buck Nasty hits the ball hard, but it can get wild at times, just like my swing. And so I really thought we had an advantage in that match. And so I thought we were going to be down. So when I heard we were tied, Jeremy had told us from the beginning he couldn't think of a better finish to the Morgan Cut than it go even into singles. And I'm like, well, he wanted us to go even. We got a chance of that. We're tied. Now we got two more rounds. We somehow squeaked out, 2-2. Let's see if we can keep it up in the afternoon. We felt like we had some momentum. We didn't get, it wasn't 3-1, it wasn't 4-0. We weren't getting swept. We had held our own and none of us had really played incredibly well, with the exception of M2 Giles. I mean, he golfed his ball that weekend.
Oh, I mean, I was a big M2 Giles fan on the videos. I thought that if y'all would have pulled it off, that he was definitely MVP candidate. So you switch partners here to go out
Yep.
for the second nine. Second nine was best ball, and he put you with the hot hand in M2 Giles, and y'all play 10 putt in Wichita. In those final two matches on Saturday. So, walk me through those two sort of matches from your street corner.
So for me, this was a big boost because I knew Mark was playing well, and it helped me build some confidence off of him. I believe the first 3 holes, Mark, we used his scores. He was just playing really steady golf. He was playing beautiful golf. My job was to try to put a ball in, keep my ball alive, so it took some stress off him, so that if we had to use mine, we could. I was topping still the first couple holes, and I was able to calm down seeing him play well. Started helping me start slowing down and playing well. And it was interesting because as we got towards the end of the front nine, we used a couple of my shots, and I made a big putt that have the hole in order to close them out. And so that was a real big momentum puller because I think we used one of my holes I played decent with my pop to push, and then that last hole we played to close them. I think we closed them 3-2. Was a monster of a putt, and I felt bad because 10 putt and Wichita were solid. I mean, the two of them ham and eggsed it, but we kept dropping putts. Both Mark and I, we just got lucky when we needed to. We had the putts fall when we needed to, and the two of them in that first match burned the edge on 3 or 4 putts that literally either burned the edge or lipped out. Where if they had gone in, it would have been completely reversed. We were making the putts where we needed to, but it actually that first nine really got me calmed down, settled down to where I felt like, all right, I found my swing again. I'm slowing down, just thinking old man Freddie Couples, smooth swing through, stop trying to rush it. Uh, and it led into some fun strategy in alt shot. Mark pulled me aside when we got to the modified alt shot and look, your strength is putting and chipping. I've seen it. Your short game, you put a lot of effort in. He's he said anything inside 220 is an iron in my hand. He said whatever club, if it's a 3 wood, a 5 wood, you get in the fairway. I'll try to bomb one if it's close enough and you feel confident. He said, but I'm good because he said even if I'm 220 out hitting a 4 iron and I hit it right or left, I'm confident with your chipping and us using the pops because of my handicap. And that was his strategy. Me poke one and get one in play, not take driver if it didn't make sense and was going to get crazy. And he was going to hit most of our approach shots. And then I would do the short game shot. And he's a pretty darn good putter himself. And so we had a strategy going in because Wichita and 10 putt were so consistent. We just talked about an amazing shot that those guys were never out of a hole. We were never in a situation where they conceded the hole early. It was all the way up through the green because they were so consistent. There was no blowout, them shooting an 8 or a 10. They played so steady and consistent. It took us out playing better, getting the breaks in order for us to beat them. And the two of them, it was smiles all day long. When I was struggling, both Wichita and 10 putt were like, hey, you're fine. Don't worry about it. You'll get the next shot. And when I hit a great shot, they were cheering me on as if they were my teammates. It was surreal. I had so much fun that 18 with those guys. And the funny thing is, Mark, if anyone has not swung with M2 Giles, he uses every bit of his body to hit the golf ball, and he hits it far. My back was hurting just watching him swing. And it was at the end of alt shot, it got really interesting because I remember one of the last holes, my ball was about 25 yards behind his, but it was within his range. And I looked and I said, so are you going to hit the approach? And he looked at me and he said, you've been swinging well and my back's starting to tight up. You got this. And so he kind of pushed me into you hit it. And so I had to hit I think it was a hard 8 and a hard 9, 2 consecutive holes. He had me hit the approaches and I stuck greens both times. And then once again, after I chunked, I had one of the holes that we were in the leftmost bunker, and there's a bunker in between us and the green. And I tried to finesse it because there's no green to work with, and it hit the edge and rolled back into the frontmost bunker. He blasted out to the fringe, and I dropped a 20-footer to end the match and close him out again. Another putt that just right to left downhill, and I found the line and it dropped. Surreal, but it took us getting those breaks, having long putts drop in order to close out 10 putt and Wichita. The two of them, a couple breaks went the other way. They were closing us out 3-2. It was that tight of a match, and it was just smiling. We took selfies, pictures. Those guys, I told both of them, we are going to get a beer, go play golf again one day, even if it means I'm driving out across the country to go hang out with those guys. They were awesome guys to play with.
So congratulations, you and Two Giles are the only people that won, only team that won a point for Paradise in the best ball stanza of action. So you're down 7-5 moving into Sunday singles. Paradise is Hackers is up 7-5. What was the mood amongst the team at the end of day one? Walk me through sort of how Sunday. We were super excited because Sunday was going to matter, even though Hackers had done a little bit better on Saturday. It wasn't a boat race or a coronation. Y'all were still heavily in the competition portion of this. What was the mood amongst Paradise going into Sunday?
So we were all excited, even Saturday night when pairings were announced. The whole, I mean, I'd be doing justice if I didn't talk about Hague Point. Before I die, I'm going to take my family on a vacation there. I'm going to play that course again. It truly is an island. There's no bridge. You have to take a boat across, a ferry across. There's no cars on the island except for one emergency vehicle. It's all golf carts that are silent sea here nature. When we went to dinner at the Calibo Club, you turn on this. We just had these rudimentary maps and your navigation work. It turns you on this little sandy road. You're driving along the coast to this mansion overlooking the water, harbor towns across the bay. It's just surreal. And we're going to dinner knowing that we're not out of it. It's 7-5. If we make a run in singles, we can be in it. And all of us were excited. We were all excited to hear what the pairings were going to be because we found out there, what it was. Captain had told us ahead of time. JD Talk said, if there's someone you really want to play, if there's a grudge match you want to get in, let me know ahead of time and I'll set it up. But a lot of us were just, Cap, put us where you want us. We'll take on whoever. Let's just go out there. I was excited to go up against Buck because both of us are one shot of difference, but it was going to be a level match. No caps. It was just trying to outplay one another. And so all of us looked at the matchups and were excited. We knew we had a chance. Dinner was fantastic. There was talks of going over to Hilton Head Island to party, but we realized we probably wouldn't have gotten back across till like 4 something in the morning and then trying to play golf a few hours later. So that wouldn't have been our best decision. So instead we went and partied at the captain's house. But both teams partied pretty late in the night. We knew it was our last night. And as much as we knew we needed to bring it, we got a 10 o'clock tee time. So we knew we could sleep in a little bit, get over there, get a good breakfast and go. But we were all confident. Some people were nervous. There were some tight pairings in there that were going to be tough, but we were just like, just leave it out there. Don't leave with any regrets. Go out there, golf your ball, keep it in front of you. And so all of us went out there and tried to scrap all the way through. But our mindset was we still had a chance. We thought we could do it. We thought we could roll enough. We just needed the tie in order to retain the cup. We got to 10. We had that. So we knew we needed 5 points. They needed 3.5. So it was whatever we could do to try to get that W.
I mean, in the end, Hackers wins 12-8, and you and Buck Nasty go down to the very sort of end. In fact, that match actually ends on 18. I think he birdies on 18, but there's still a chance for that match to be halved on the 18th tee. Yep. Really, the Morgan Cup, honestly, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, as far as the competitions, and we spent a lot of time talking about the competition. Everybody won. You were at the freaking Morgan Cup, okay? But someone was going to win the cup. So that's why we're talking about it, because it's probably the most relatable. Whenever you try to describe the Granddaddy to someone, it's hard to relate it to anything because you can't draw from their personal experience and say it's kind of like this because it's not like anything they've ever done. But they can relate to but people can relate to competing. And so that's why we spend a lot of time. At the end of the day, Hackers wins 12-8. And it really came down, as we were breaking it down, it really came down to a stretch of like starting at hole 13 and ending at hole 16. And really 14 being sort of the crux of this. 14, 15, 16, I called it the amen corner. Yep. This is where Hackers just, in best ball and in singles, they played this stretch of holes better. So, like, if you really just got down to it, the difference in the Morgan Cup was about 4 holes. How the two teams played 3 to 4 holes.
Yep.
So I called it Hag Point's amen corner. You played the corner on 3 because y'all played it in the first 9. Y'all played it, then you played it again. Yeah, y'all played it 3 different times. Is my assessment right? I mean, this is what it looked like from home. I've never played the course. Walk me through that amen corner at Hag Point, man.
They are all true tests of golf. Do you want me to start on 14? So
yeah, 14's the one. Air bomb.
This might be blasphemous because I blew up on 14, but I do not think 14 is near as tough of a hole as we made it. A lot of us shot big numbers on it because we felt like we had to hit a big drive and ended up pushing something in the woods. And once you're in the woods off of one on a par five and having to punch out and you've opened yourself up, you're already now in your head. Uh, the toughest part about hole 14 is the green. I mean, if you look at the overhead maps, it doesn't do it justice. Literally right past the fringe on left and right, it's a 4 foot drop off down into the swamp. So if you don't stick it on the green, you have a little bit more room past the pin, but you also got to remember you have the ocean right behind it blowing, and that wind was swirling. So a lot of times, club selection, if you're off a little bit right or left, you are going to go out of bounds. You're going to be dropping a ball. So the hardest part about 14, I mean, it is kind of a tight shoot going down there, but it's not terrible compared to other golf courses. A lot of us found trouble off the tee, and that's what really cost us. If we had, even clubbed down to an iron off the tee, we would have shot a lot better than what a lot of us did in singles because we got in our own head, hit driver. But the hardest shot is your approach shot in. And that's why a lot of people wouldn't go after it in two because you have to hit something that's not going left or right. You have to be able to hit something long and straight for that approach shot. So you're probably smarter laying up to a wedge or a pitch. I heard in one of the matches that one of the guys got in so much trouble, the other guy from 80 yards out putted on that hole because they didn't want to. They smashed
Now that brings putting into a total different range. Love it.
That was the ultimate conservative play that I am not going to put in the air and risk it going left and right and let this guy back in the hole. I'm going to take my putter and smash as hard as I can straight up the middle. And they won the hole doing that. So hitting a few putts in the fairway. So the hole was in our head. 14 is definitely a fun golf hole. It's one of the reasons I want to get back to Hague because I didn't play it very well. I played it well when we were in alt shot. That's one of the holes where I had to hit the approach shot in and stuck the green and gave us a putt, left it under the hole. So, but if I had to be the one going off the tee, I probably would have got us in trouble normally. So when I took 3 wood off the tee, I typically did much better on that hole. When I hit driver, my number went high.
What was your favorite hole on the course?
Hole 8, no doubt. Hole 8. Calibogue hole 8. And the reason Calibogue hole 8 in singles, it is one. I don't know if you have the picture. I don't know if I hold it up, if it's going to do any justice to the people who I'm trying to look. But it is a full carry over water, wind in your face. The tees we're playing was playing in the 160s. And so our pairing, I think Buck Nasty had the honor. He took, I think, is either one of his long irons or it might have been his 5 wood. He took his 5 wood a lot. But he took hit whatever club he hit, and he plays a fade. And it was into a headwind, and the ball just ballooned up and dropped like 15 yards short into the stuff. And he thought he hit it well, and it looked nice, but the wind was no joke. And so Peehofer hits, goes in the stuff. I'm playing with Boiler Clee. He hit a great ball that was high and going, came up just short. I was playing 2.5 clubs too long, and that green slopes a little bit back to front. But what you don't see in the picture is the back of the green slopes down in swamp behind it. You have swamp, then you have beach, then water. I mean, you can't miss too far left or right. You have
anywhere. Really, can't miss anywhere.
And with the headwind, it makes you want to swing hard. Well, I swung smooth, and the ball went straight over the flag and hit probably 20 feet past the pin and took the had backspin, finished 3 feet from the hole, and I sunk the putt for birdie. So
you'll always remember, man. That's a great shot.
It's got to be my favorite hole because I put it where I want to, spun it back, and then I went up to the green to take a picture, and the drop point is you're hitting from like 130, still over all the crap. It's not like it gives you an easy drop. And I think our group put 7 balls in before getting balls over. So it was a very tough hole, and I actually performed well. I think hole number 15 was also a fun hole. Not necessarily for my shot, but the first day I watched Buck Nasty hit a cut up against the wind that finished 4 or 5 feet from it. And I had hit my 5 wood that ran through the back. So I thought I was good chipping on just from the back. And he freaking sticks it beautifully. That was also a hole that I played pretty well most of the rounds, taking either the 5 wood or 7 wood, depending on the wind, and hitting it up there.
Did y'all ever get put on the clock?
Did we get put on the clock?
Yeah. I mean, you said there was like 7 balls that went into the water from the drop zone too. Did y'all ever get put on the clock while you're out there?
I don't think we ever officially got put on the clock, but JB was telling us quite often, you guys are 10 minutes behind, you guys are 5 minutes behind, and we're having to rush to catch back up. Um, when you get high handicappers in a group and we're and our swings going wild, uh, it is it is tough to say the least. But a lot of groups were sagging back. We were charging. That caused a mental issue in one of my matches. I didn't. I always walk a putt filled with my feet, and because there's a group in the fairway, I hit and I had two putts to win, and I left it woefully short and lipped out, which cost me a lot of momentum in a match, which was my own foolishness. Um, don't ever let yourself feel rushed. That'll get you. But we
So
I think everybody was playing kind of slow. We were the slow group one day for sure. JB let us hear about it and was kind of pushing us, and we tried to step it up. But part of your reason why that the Hague Point corner is so tough is because the first time playing it through, it wasn't terrible. It was nerves when we played that first cart shamble. But then the next couple times we played it was at the end of the day after we played a lot of golf, and you're tired. You're trying to get through the end of the match, and when you get to that stretch and you've already played, I mean, we were toward the end of 27 holes when we played it on Saturday the second time through. We were exhausted, and then to come back on Sunday after partying into the night, getting to hang out, and then I mean that was 63 holes of golf, including the practice round. And some people played another 18 the day before. That is a lot of golf. I was trying my last round, grinding it out with Buck. I mean, that was a heavyweight boxing match, punch counter punch. That's a match I'll never forget. Had so much fun with him, and I was trying. I wanted to try to squeak out a half. On hole 16, I tried to hit the miracle shot from a crap light over the tree onto the green, and I ended up catching it then under the tree. And I waded out into that little swampy area to hit a ball because it stayed up because I didn't want it to be over, and played a shot from there. And a shout out to those shoes. I thought the shoes were ruined. Rinsed them off. They look brand spanking new. So I don't know what Puma, they have that waterproof guarantee. Those shoes are awesome. But we were so tired. Hole 18 in that match, my last match, the end of I guess that's past the corner. You have to carry just that one little bit of swampy stuff. I hadn't had a problem with it all week, but getting there with him and the pressure, and we had already found out that the cup was theirs. It was already over at that point, and we were going to play it in. I was trying to give him a match going in, and sure enough, I top it into the crap. I'd have to drop and take a second ball off the tee. So that was one of my worst shots of the week. I also had some pushed away in the woods, had some top spins, but it was that stretch requires good shots. Those par threes with forced carries, especially because you have wind either from the right or dead into you. Those holes are tough. I mean, when you hit hole 15, which Calibogue tees hole 15 is a forced carry over swamp with a massive bunker in front of the green. That's the one where Buck the first day carved a 5 wood. He hits hard, carved a 5 wood, and ended up 4 or 5 feet from the flag. So with wind, and then when we played it in singles, the wind was almost at our back, and we were able to club down a lot lower and take long irons versus needing fairway woods. Hole 16, that's one I had to wade out into. The challenge of hole 16 is you place your first shot. If you get a little bit right, you can find trouble if you go far enough right. You can lose your ball in some water. But the right side, the rough over there is just kind of scratchy. You get interesting lies. And if you get right, you have to carry a tree or try to go around a tree. If you get left, there's two guardian trees that you either just split them or go around them. 10 putt trying to keep in one of the matches, I think, split those trees with a beautiful shot um, to keep them alive. So it's one where if you find the center of the fairway, that hole's a lot easier. If you find right or left and you're trying to work around a tree and you catch it wrong, you could end up in that waste area in front of there with the swampiness and be like me wading into some stuff to try to take a shot because you don't want it to be over. Um,
no
but
one
they're all
got a
true
picture
golf.
of that. Like I wanted to see a picture. Should have
Of
taken a picture of
60.
them shoes. Did you take a picture of it and I missed of the shoes that you had to wade into that stuff?
Someone I yelled for it was the last round. I yelled for Buck to take a picture, and I think Buck. I said you need to get a picture if you're not of me going out in this because I wasn't going to get because both P Hoffer and I hit into it, and both of us were going to go in. And P Hoffer watched me hit and splatter mud up my pants legs and on the quarter zip I was wearing because I fully committed and I put it up to the bunker just right of the green, playing up. At which point P. Hoffer decided to take a drop behind it and not do what I did. But
I love
I have
it.
not
I
seen the
love it.
picture posted, but I believe because I told him to either get a picture or video, and I think Buck got one of me going out
He
in that
needs
stuff.
to. I need to see that. I need to see that. What? A couple more questions before we wrap it up. What was your favorite part of the event?
Um, I love the competition. My first time really competing in golf. I love the competition aspect because it was a lot friendlier. I learned a lot about myself on the golf course that I need to I need to prepare better and put myself in competition because my game. After I got a little confidence, I saw a lot of the shots that I was used to, but the whole top thin thing, I'd never seen that before, and so that was new to me. Understanding that I need to work on some of that, but getting to know the guys, I really my takeaway from the reunion event is that I had failed not because my golf game wasn't good, but because I did not take advantage of really getting to know the guys as well as I could have, and interacting with the forums. I brought a dedicated camera that I'm working to upload extra videos and pictures that I wanted to make sure I had my cell phone to get quick pictures to get in the forums and to upload the scores to make sure that the fans could follow along. And I got another one to get extra footage. So I feel like it did much better. I love the interaction, the people sending PMs cheering us on. Um, but just the dinners, the times hanging out, partying with the other team, getting to know the guys. Um, Alex is a very well deserved MVP. I can't say enough. I was surprised because Alex is very quick witted. If you've never been around OITW, he's got a lot of really good one liners. But I mean, a lot of us do small talk, and we work in business settings. You can small talk with anyone. When you talk with him, he actually goes deep, asks questions, like truly listens and talks and takes the conversation deep, which was interesting to me because he comes off as this playful, joking guy. But we spent the night before Saturday night, him and I at the captain's house just talking for 30 40 minutes, really getting to know him. So I told him I am around with golf and cracking open beer, scotch, something one day down the road.
I've never
But just
met Alex. I've never met Alex. Hopefully, I'm playing against him next year. Tag Point Morgan Cup. That's my shameless plug. So before I wrap it up with the last question I wanted to ask you, who's got a better selfie game, Alex or Canada?
ooh, that's tough because both of them are good with the selfies and the
I know,
filters.
man. So the
Um,
filter, I like Canada's filter game a little strong. I think it's a little stronger. I think Alex's
I
selfie game is a little bit stronger.
I was gonna say I think Alex's selfie game's a little bit stronger, and I think he captured more of them. I mean, he was very cognizant, and he set the bar high when I was preparing for the event. He's one of the ones who I went back and looked at how he covered events, and it's just outstanding that he can keep his head in the match and get so many pictures, respond to so many people. That's what I was trying to keep up with. I think he sets the bar high for us, and I would lean to him on selfie game. I mean, overall, beautiful pictures, filters has to go to Canada, but
Oh yeah, oh
he's
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, Canada was made for the Mayfair filter. I mean, let's just be honest about it. Last question, sort of a two-parter. What would you do differently, if anything?
Uh, Quite honestly, I'm going to probably join a club and do some more competitive golf because the one thing I didn't do was really put my game under pressure, and that's where I learned something about myself. It's the only thing. I mean, I grinded, I played well. I did make a grip change 2 weeks before the event, which is not always a good thing. But working with the coach, he told me to try to play it through the event. But once you know you have a problem, it's hard to just ignore it. And my left hand was a little bit strong, but my right hand was so far underneath that it was literally twisting the club at the top and hooding it because my right hand's stronger. And I had shots that felt pure but went a mile left. And so putting my hand over the top, my wife was annoyed because I was carrying a golf club around the house like every waking hour I wasn't at work, just getting a feel of the grip and hitting lots of balls the last 2 weeks. I probably should have discovered that sooner, worked with a coach, and not made that much of a change. I really don't think that affected me because I didn't have any wonky shots. My thin shots weren't due to grip; it was due to throwing my hips and being silly. But I loved my practice. I loved the grind leading up to it. I wouldn't change playing in those 40 and 50 degree rounds and crappy conditions because it was to an end, and some of it came through. The short game stuff came through. Anyone who's practicing for the event, find the fastest green you can and putt on it and chip on it, because that's where a lot of it came down to. Those greens were fast, and as the sun and wind hit them during late in the day, they got even faster. And so if you're putting defensively, you're not going to win many matches. So maybe work even more on short game, but that's hard because everything here is bent grass and wet. So there was nothing to simulate it other than hitting on a wooden floor at the house. So really putting my game under pressure is really the only thing I do differently.
Well, I mean, we've had a great discussion. Any final thoughts that you want to leave this thing with? I mean, I guess I'm closing the show that I didn't even know I had. So go ahead.
I I would say the reason, and it's a reason I really wanted to come on. Other than selfishly, I had a long drive home. I got in at like 3 something in the morning. I figured it'd be good to call in while I was still raw and I was having to process all the emotions. It's hard to explain to anyone the roller coaster, because you felt it when you're leaving paradise. It is, the depression is real. The emotions you go through for a couple of days are real. It's because of how amazing these events are. Anyone who's sitting at home, who's contemplating, thinking my game's not good enough, I would embarrass myself. You won't. I hit so many balls in the woods, left, right. All of us hit stuff in the water. The best golfer hits stuff in the woods, in the water. It's not about the competition. You want to win and you're going to go have fun and compete. You're won just by being selected. Practice, bring the best game you can. It's handicapped. And that's really why I wanted to come on, because I realized 3, 4 years ago when I first watched my first Morgan Cup, I was scared and was like, man, I could never compete in that. And now this is something I'll remember the rest of my life. So anyone who's even thinking about it, if you're not a member of the Albatross Club and you love golf, you're missing out. I mean, where else can you get these opportunities? These incredible events, that all the work that JB Morgan do with all of the best in the industry to bring us along. It's just unreal to think of the opportunities. I mean, you've been to the Granddaddy, the Morgan Cup, all of these events, a Strixon event that's about to come up. They just announced the next Shaft Up, the freaking THP Championship with getting design your own true viz. Just, it's amazing.
I'm not even
Everything
about that. I got Finley. Finley
Oh,
is
I
there.
forgot you get to play against Finley. You got to get back in the championship.
I know. I know.
It,
Finley.
that's if I could give one message to everybody, um, if you haven't competed in one of these events, you need to. It's more than just a competition. I mean, the friendships you'll have for life. That it's hard to put into words all of the emotion, all of the stuff. Um, Even trying to express it to my wife and loved ones is tough. The relationships, the friendships, and the amount of fun you have. Even the guys on our team who didn't win a lot of matches golfed their butts off and had a blast. None of us went up to someone and said, "Hey, you lost these matches. You cost us that." I mean, I'm feeling guilty that I didn't help JD Toxmore in our first match because he had a great strategy, and if the nerves haven't got to me, I think we would have had a shot in that match if I could have, got the ball in the air a few more times. Um, so there's some of those, but I don't walk away with regrets. I love the match against Buck Nasty. I mean, it came down to wire, and he edged me out. He outlasted me, and he played some really good golf. We both had some loose swings and some really great holes we'll remember. I was just glad I was able to be back and forth that much. Just, it's hard to explain if you haven't been a part of it, which is why everyone needs to get in there and be a part of it. Not that I want more competition getting into events, but if you're doubting it one bit, just get over it. Put your name in the hat, and if you get chosen, just go enjoy the hell out of it. I think that's really what I wanted to come on and say, because 4 years ago I would have never entered this event, and now I realize how
Wow.
much of an idiot I was.
Well, I appreciate you coming on my show. And if
The
it
JDAC
becomes
show.
right, the JDAC show, and maybe it becomes a regular deal where people hit me up and want to talk post event about their event. I have no problem. I've enjoyed this immensely. So for my man 93 Civic Coupe, this is JDAC signing off.
All right, have a great